Hi, and welcome to this series of tutorials on C programming language. In this tutorial, we will start from very basics of C and we will go till all the way to the end. So, in the beginning, I'll tell you about history and advantages of C, and then I'll tell you how to set up Eclipse, Cygwin, and GCC, and we will see how to create program in Eclipse, how to run it, how to debug it, and then we'll proceed further and know about C programming language, various components of C programming. But to start with, let's begin with history of C and its advantages. As you may be knowing, C was invented by Dennis Ritchie, full name being Dennis McAllister Ritchie. He was popularly known by the name of DMR among his friends at 18 Bell Labs. He wrote the C between 1969 and 1973, and in 1973, Dennis Ritchie and his colleague and friend Brian Cunningham, both of them presented a paper on this language and it was formally accepted. There's a very funny story behind invention of C. During 1960s, government of USA gave a big project to General Electric, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and AT&T Bell Labs to develop a computing facility which can render its services to tens of thousands of users at the same time. The name of the project was Multics. However, the project was not successful, and the researchers had to stop midway. When they did not have any work, Ken Thompson wrote Unix, and he also wrote a game called Space Travel. And his fellow researchers, along with Joseph Osana, Cunningham, and Ritchie, they used to play this game. The original machine for which it was written was VAX PDP-7. At that time, C was not there, so Unix and Space Travel, the game, were both written in assembly. Later on, AT&T Bell Labs bought another machine, which was GE645. This was another machine, another processor, so assembly instructions were different. So Thomson had to rewrite the game and Unix. Then AT&T Bell Labs got another machine. It was PDP-11, and it had more instructions. So Thomson did porting again. So out of all this, Dennis Ritchie thought, okay, well, let's write a high-level language. They might have thought possibly, I exactly do not know. And then he wrote this language C. Now the question is why the name is C. Well, it so happened that there was a language called BCPL written by one of the colleagues, Martin Richards, who wrote it after B programming language, which was developed by Ken Thompson. So it was B, BCPL, and then C. C is a structured programming language. It is also called procedural programming language or imperative programming language because of the structure of C programs. We'll see about this later. C is also a low-level programming language. It allows you to manipulate memory contents directly and it allows you to access of hardware resources directly. Therefore, C is considered to be a low-level programming language. and as we know, it was initially written to port Unix. What is the advantage if you learn C? Let me tell you another fact. When Unix was developed and C compiler was written, then AT&T Bell Labs were not supposed to distribute Unix and C under commercial license. So they gave it to free to almost all the universities in USA, because of which both grew together. Unix and C grew together, and people loved both of them, Unix and C. Now, since C was meant to port Unix, it is very good for system programming. And later on, other operating systems, the branch of SVR Unix and BSD from Berkeley University, both were written in C. Windows was written in C. Now some components of Windows are rewritten in C++. Mac OS was written in C, and now Mac OS has taken Darwin port that is in C. So almost all Solaris is in C, HBUX is in C, IBM AIX is in C. So you take any good operating system for that matter, it will be written in C. There is a very high chance. I mean, you can be rest assured that 90% of the time an operating system will be written in C. Another point is all languages have binding in C. Let's say you want to learn Python or Perl or Java, Ruby, PHP. So, what do you mean by binding? Let's take a curious case of Java. Now, say I want to write a function and extend Java. How would you do that? You can write it in Java code, but will that be optimal? Probably not. Let's say in case of PHP, you want to write an extension. Now, PHP extensions are written in C programming language. Similarly, you take Python. You want to write a fast function for Python. Python is also programmed in C, the interpreter. You take Java or PHP or Perl or Python, they are inherently programmed in C and some C++. Is needed to learn C++. C++ is a direct superset of C. So it is much better and much easier to learn C++ if you learn C first. We'll come to the point about its speed later on. Now, C comes with a standard library and language constructs. So when C++ was developed, it followed that tradition, and when Java came, or Python, or PHP, Ruby, they take a lot from the syntax of C, and they kind of provide a lot of similar facilities. For example, the operators of C are used in almost all programming languages in almost same fashion. There are certain differences, but yes, you can be rest assured that the syntax is going to be same for, in most of the languages. There will be certain differences, like Python has got indentation difference, but still, plus operator will remain same. And there are many such operators which will remain same in many languages. Another point is that since C is old, a lot of software has been written in C and the source code is available. So it is much easier to leverage that software and write on top of that. Also, since these softwares are kind of mature, the bugs or the problems in those software is supposed to be less, and it is less. You take any software like a web server or a mail server or a browser or a mail client or a FTP server, telnet server, it is written in C. Now we come to one last point, that is C is very fast. Given a language, it has got two types, compiled and interpreted. What are the compiled languages? At the moment, there are three popular languages which are compiled: C, C++, and Go. Go is not popular yet. You can say Objective-C is also compiled, but Objective-C is not typically used for general purpose programming. Objective-C is more limited to Apple. So when you say C is compiled and others, Java or Perl, Python, PHP, Ruby, they are interpreted. A compiled language will always beat an interpreted language if both are programmed by the same programmer with the same competency in both the languages. I'll say why C is faster than C++. Because C++ has got something called virtual functions and dynamic uh, binding. When you have dynamic binding, you have got something called virtual table in C++, in which pointers have to be dereferenced and the type of the object is determined at runtime. Now these two things incur a penalty on the runtime performance. Now definitely there are advantages of that, but when you need raw performance, you must do it fast. Then C is the best choice you have. So we have covered in this part the history and the advantages of C programming language. In the next part, we will learn how to set up our environment, our programming environment. Till then, bye bye.